The movie Beverly Hills Cop began with Axel Foley driving his vehicle around the city while listening to music and greeting his friends. He goes to watch a hockey game. Meanwhile, we see some guys bribing the security guards to get entry. At the stadium, Mike Woody, his colleague, informed him that he was the reason why he became a cop and he is like a mentor to him. After their long discussion, Axel tells him that the whole place is about to be robbed and asked him by who, hoping for his partner to use his in-game detective work skill to figure it out. He showed him some of the movement which the security guards has been pulling off, but his partner seems disappointed as he thought Axel was just hanging out with him, not knowing they are on a mission. They preceded their mission by apprehending Junior, the security guard. Axel goes into the building and found one of the robbers trying to steal a ring while the rest searched for more expensive items. He then walked in but was then held at gunpoint. Axel found a way to collect the gun and order them to surrender. Just as he did so, the corrupt cop from earlier then bumped into him, giving them opportunity to escape. A gun battle began as they did so. Axel and his partner goes to chase them. They call for backup, but Jeffrey, who is their superior, get on the phone trying to understand the whole reason why they are in a car chase with some gang. They explained and continued their chase. While they did so, Axel kept the damages very high as he just kept on destroying cars. They eventually caught one of the robbers. The next day, Axel goes to meet Jeffrey at the office, asking him if he was proud of his work. Jeffrey complained to him that the police commissioner has been screaming on his ears for 45 minutes straight. He tells him that his days on the streets might soon be over and he can't keep on doing this. Jeffrey informed him that he's about to retire as he already submitted his letters. After a long discussion, the scene cut to Jane Saunders visiting the prison. She goes to meet an inmate named Sam Enriquez as she's a lawyer. She believes Enriquez has been set up and she wishes to help him out. Enriquez has been framed for a murder as he was found lying next to a dead cop with a truck filled with drugs. She asked him for helpful information so she can know how to help out, which he eventually did so. After their discussion, he lost consciousness while driving, and when he woke up, he found a gun beside him and a dead cop next to him. That same afternoon, we see Sam Enriquez and Jane at the court as she began her duty. She goes to her car preparing to go home. Just as she did so, a truck reversed towards her and a group of thugs appeared. They damaged her car locks and began pushing her vehicle off the building. She got a warning from one of them as they threatened her to drop the Enriquez case before they eventually pushed her off the building, but all this was just a warning. The cops came by and questioned her if she could recognize any of the thug, but she can't since they were all putting on a mask. Billy tells Jenny to get her hands off the case or else he will inform her dad, who is Axel, about her life been threatened, but she insisted to continue the case and warning Billy not reporting anything to her father. At home, Axel get a call from Billy telling him about Jane and the Enriquez case. He informed him that her life is on a threat. Meanwhile, Axel tells him that he will take the next flight to the city next morning. He also told Axel that he already has the footage which clears Sam Enriquez as cop killer. But before he submit the file, he has one more stop to go check out, then he hang up. The scene cut to Billy going to check out the location, only for him to get surrounded by the gangs. The scene shifted to Axel giving his goodbye to his copmate Jeffrey at the airport. Jeffrey tells him to be careful as he's not 22 years of age anymore. Meanwhile, Axel get to Beverly Hills while Billy fails to pick him up. We all know why, as he has been kidnapped. Axel get to Billy's apartment only to find some guys going through stuffs in the room. He pretended to be one of them, which seems to be working for a while, until one of them recognized him from the group photo he had with Billy. Just as they figured out who he was, Axel surprised them and ran out of the building. He got to where he packed his vehicle only for him to find out it had been trolled by an officer who eventually pepper sprayed him when he tried stealing her vehicle to escape. He eventually drove off while also been chased by the thugs. He unfortunately had an accident where he got surrounded by female cops and got arrested by them even after introducing himself as a cop. At the station, Abbott questioned him about why he was at Billy Rosewood's offices, but Axel refuses to tell him anything and released himself from the handcuffs. At Jane Saunders' office, she received a call from her father but immediately hung up. He informed her that Billy called him last night and if she want the information then she should come bail him out. She went to meet her father, but she told him that she isn't here for a family reunion. Meanwhile, it seems Jane knows the officer Abbott, who in charge of her dad case. Nearby, Axel goes to meet Chief John Taggart and they both hug since it has been long they both saw each other. They began a long discussion about their old time while Axel also told him that he got a call from Billy. He'd also got informed that his daughter is now defending a cop killer, making him very surprised at this. Back to Jane, she goes to meet Abbott and she asked him if he is now seeing anyone at the moment and also apologized to him for disappearing. But he is very shocked that Jane is the daughter of Axel. Meanwhile, Jane's dad is beginning to suspect the Honorable Captain Grant, who he just met with his old friend John Taggart, as he's putting on a $2,000 Gucci shoes. He believes something is very wrong at their station unit. However, Axel also promised his daughter to leave tomorrow if he eventually figure out that everything is okay and it is just a false alarm. They both drive together while also catching up. Axel takes his daughter to a store to investigate more about the whole situation where the sales boy showed him the footage from last night's CCTV. They went to the car park and find Coughlin's car and were surprised the vehicle was already damaged. Axel goes to see if the SD card from the car camera is still intact, but found nothing. Just as they tried leaving the park, Axel decides to check Jane's car, only to find a tracker beneath it. They set up a trap to see who was tailing them, which was successful as it was the guys from earlier who chased after Axel when he arrived at Beverly Hills. Jane and her father drove to an event which was a private social gathering. Axel goes in but wasn't allowed a pass, but just then Jane comes in insisting they let both of them go. They both gain access into the building while the two go to meet up with the thug. Axel then found out that Honorable Captain Grant was the one who sent those thugs at Billy's office. After a long discussion, Captain Grant informed him that the mayor's office is all over him and he needs to recover the evidence to exonerate, and he will do whatever it takes to get them back. Seems our Honorable Captain Grant is very deep into his corruption game. Meanwhile, as Jane drives, she told her father that now that they both know Grant's secrets, and he isn't bothered, he means he doesn't care, which simply means one is either foolish, or two, he just have powerful people backing him up. Just then, Jane tells her dad goodbye and he should go back to where he came from. Axel drives his truck while calling Billy, but no response. Then he goes to book an hotel. The next day, Axel Foley continued his investigation. Jane Saunders goes to her conference room only to find her dad. At first she didn't want to see him, but later changed her mind since the information he has is about Sam Enriquez's investigation. Meanwhile, Bobby Abbott goes to give John Taggart some confidential files and information as he found a camera. Seems it was the same camera Axel found. That afternoon, Bobby goes to tail Jane and her father. They both get ambushed. Bobby goes to assist them out and also call for backup. They open more fire at Axel's vehicle. Just as they walked toward Jane, Bobby then appeared, eliminating the both gunmen. At the station, Axel thanks Bobby for his help, but the two then had a heated conversation where Bobby told him why Jane broke up with him, which was because she told him she can't date a cop. This alone broke Axel's heart. John Taggart called Axel Foley about the disaster that nearly occurred. Axel asked John Taggart if he was part of the whole corrupt cop thing, but immediately John became furious and asked Axel to leave his office, while also suspending Bobby for eliminating random people. Back to Jane, she asked her dad why he doesn't want to give up on all this. He replied to his daughter saying, "Why would he?" Just then, Bobby joined them. At night, Bobby talked to Jane about the whole situation. The three then began investigating the whole cartels and their movement. They planned to go visit one of the cartel buildings, but with the help of a friend who will give them a free pass. The four drive to the location. They all gain access to the building while they fake their identity. Axel began his investigation and it began seeing suspicious things. Nearby, Jane and Bobby goes for a house tour. To make it even more convincing, they both shared a kiss. Just then, Axel comes in saying he isn't interested in the building anymore. Captain Grant immediately get a phone call from his guys that Jane and her father was just at the house. Meanwhile, Grant tells his boys not to do anything yet. The three goes to another location with the hope of finding Billy. Seems they believe he's the only one who might have the CCTV footage. Before then, they plan on finding Chelino, who seems to be Sam Enriquez's uncle. They believe he will lead them to Billy. After a long discussion about daughter and father, Jane leaves. Meanwhile, Bob and Axel communicate more about family, but Axel still insists his daughter Jane was the one who pushed him away from her life. They both go to a bar hoping to find Chelino. Fortunately for them, they saw him singing. Axel tried hyping him up, but this was a bad idea as Chelino pulled out his gun. Chelino then aimed his gun at Bob. Just then Axel informed him that his daughter is the one helping Sam Enriquez at the court. Just as he heard this, he then agreed to listen to them. He informed them on how the whole Beverly Hills cop are under the cartel. He also gave them a very vital information. They both left the bar, only to be surrounded by Captain Grant. Policemen seems to have set Axel and Bob up with a load ton of drugs. They teased them, knocking them out. At the station, Captain Grant interrogated Axel and began talking to him about how he became a dirty cop as he could not even afford to leave in a city where he got shot at multiple times. After their long conversations, Axel seems to have freed himself. John Taggart get a call from his cop mate where they informed him about Grant arresting Foley and Abbott on the count of drug possession. John doesn't believe Axel could have done such. Back to Foley at the interrogation room, he set up a trap for Grant which worked well. giving him an opportunity to escape and release Bob. The two both tried leaving the building, but the security alarm began to ring, making them move to the rooftop where they got a chopper. Bob doesn't want to enter as he's scared. The two eventually get the chopper to work. Just as they did so, Grant Men shows up, but Bob drove off with the chopper but doesn't know how to do so well. Grant chased them and began shooting at them. John Taggart finds them and is mad that they're raiding the cop chopper. Just then Grant shot their engine and they landed roughly. Bob and Axel goes to go get a raid. Meanwhile, Jane goes to meet John Taggart and he informed her about their arrest. John tells Jane that her father really loves her and a lot other thing, making Jane call her father as she seems to want to apologize. Just then, she get kidnapped. Bob and Axel goes to the place where Billy was kidnapped and began to find many things very suspicious. So he and Bob goes into the factory, where they fortunately found Billy been tortured. Axel and his partner saved Billy and proceeded to steal the cartel truck. Meanwhile, Axel asked Billy where the SD card was and he replied, "In my office," so Axel immediately goes to call his daughter, only for Grant to pick up the call while also threatening Axel to bring the SD card to him. Meanwhile, Axel called Jeffrey to confirm the location of Jane by tracking her phone, which he did so. Axel and his crew proceeded to head to the location, but before then he made sure the cop chase after him as he want them to be a backup. Sound like a better plan, which didn't work out. Jane asks Grant about his plan after he gets the SD card. Just as they discuss, Axel drove his van into the building and the shootout began. John Taggart also arrived at the scene, while also saving Billy and giving him a gun. Jane fortunately finds a way to break free while also eliminating one of the gang. After a long battle, Axel Foley goes to the room where Grant had his daughter and found Grant. He asked for his daughter Jane, but Grant then surrendered while also talking about how he lost his own family. Just as one of Grant's men plans shooting Axel, Jane comes to his rescue, giving Grant an opportunity to pick up his gun aiming at Jane. He shot at her, but Axel took the bullet that was meant for Jane. He then attempted shooting Jane again, but this time, Bob comes in while also giving him a headshot. The scene cut to the cops and ambulance at the area where they took Axel to the hospital for a proper treatment. After a few days, we get to see Axel as he is now very much okay. Jane goes to the hospital asking for her dad, but when she got to his ward, she couldn't find him. We then see Axel ordering some food at a restaurant. Jane goes to meet her dad and they both discuss. She informed him that Captain Grant and 5 others DOI and 3 perps are in the hospital under watch, while for her client, the judge got the SD card and dropped all charges placed on Sam Enriquez. Meanwhile, Axel used that opportunity to apologize to his daughter for hurting her by leaving when she needed him the most. He told her that he is really proud of her in both makeup. The scene then switched to a few days later, where we see Billy and John Taggart tailing a hospital to make sure Axel doesn't leave. Billy asked him about his marriage, and just then, Axel comes inside their vehicle and he told them he knows his daughter put them up to all this. He begs them that he wants to eat a decent food as he's tired of all this hospital food. The movie then came to an end. If you enjoy movie recap like this, kindly subscribe for more.